I don't look camera ready right now, but it doesn't matter because this entire video is improvised and off script. Today I will be disclosing some of my Criterion collections. I have about over 50 with me right now, so without further ado, starting off with Seven Samurai. This was the second Kurosawa I ever saw. The first one I saw was Throne of Blood, but this one is just so good. This is a movie along with like Satan Tango and stuff like that, or Titanic even, that are over 3 hours and don't feel 3 hours at all. I'm not gonna risk showing this cover on YouTube, but this is a DVD copy of Solo, or with the 120 Days of Sodom. I bought this my freshman year of high school. I never seen it, but I'd heard about it for years, like on Cinefix and like any other list, like, hey, the most controversial movie I've ever made. The first time I watched it, I was like, it's fine, like I get it, but I never got rid of it, and I rewatched it, and I think this is unironically, this is a great movie. Like last October, I watched a bunch of exploitation movies, and nothing came close to being as good as this, because there's so much like artistry to this movie. It's like, I'm never going to recommend this movie to anybody ever, though. So, on the polar opposite spectrum, Rushmore. This is not my favorite Wes Anderson, but it is one of his best. It's my favorite Jason Schwartzman performance outside of probably Between the Temples, honestly. But yeah, this also has one of my favorite special features of the MTV Music Awards and the presentation of the Max Fisher plays. It's very unprofessional. Next, I have Chasing Amy. It's decent. It's very very decent. Like it's very inoffensive, well, to me at least. It is very very 90s. But honestly, I'm not sad. I'm not mad that this is in the Criterion collection. Next is my favorite Wes Anderson, the Royal Tenenbaums. Recently, me, a friend, and a professor brought some people in, and we showed this at like 6 or 7 at night, and it's just such a great experience overall. All the characters are just so profound and well written. Next is, I've only seen the theatrical version. I have not seen the television version, which I heard is so good. But this one was such an experience. Even throughout the theatrical version, you feel like you've lived these characters' lives over like a decade, the decade that this takes place over. Next is La Haine. La Haine. This was the ending. This is one of my favorite endings to a movie in general. It is so like low budget, but the director Matthew Kassovitz really makes up for that low budget feel. It just adds so much personality, depth, and just angst, anger that makes this movie what it is. It's so famous. Next is Godard's Breathless. I've only seen this once. I've seen a couple Godard. I think Pierre Le Fou is better, but this is Hail Mary is up there though. But this one's just so it's hard to get into. I couldn't finish it the first time I tried to watch it, but a rewatch. But when I actually like went through with watching it, it's just such like a tight film, like tightly edited, just everything. It's very entertaining. I've not seen this movie, so I'm not going to comment on it. But all I will say is that this is a DVD. I did not buy the Blu-ray because that is like $200. That's $200 fucking dollars, and I'm not paying $200 for a Blu-ray unless you find it. I am very. Oh my god! I should brush my hair before this, but I don't care. I am about 5 minutes deep into this. In the realm of the senses. This is a very sex movie. This is a very sex-filled movie. This is like Short Bus, except if Short Bus was more sex than story. But I still really like this movie, apart from a scene like an hour in that is the most wildly out of pocket, uncomfortable thing I've ever seen in my life. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Criterion add Short Bus to the collection, please. Curious Case and Benjamin Button. This isn't my favorite Fincher. I don't think this is anybody's favorite Fincher. I'd be surprised if this is anybody's favorite Fincher. But it's still really good. I haven't seen it in a couple years. I just found this. Most of the... I have like 2 out of prints. And that is this. No, I have 3 out of prints. This, Chungking Express, and Chasing Amy. But it's not bad. I love Cate Blanchett, so I will obviously watch that. So I watched this my sophomore year after BFI said that this is Sight and Sound said this was one of the best movies ever made. No, the best movie ever made. It's not my favorite movie, but it is in my top 50. Just such like it just gets better in my I've only seen it once, but it got better in my mind when I watched it. Batshit. That's all I'm gonna have to say about that. It's batshit insane, and it's awesome. I don't have enough Lars von Trier in my life. I have Dancer in the Dark on DVD. Honestly, I'm surprised I don't even need this. I don't even need Antichrist. But it is one of my favorite movies. It is such just like a tragic, just whatever he was thinking. He's not a great person, but whatever. 3 Colors trilogy. All of these are, all 3 of them, even White, which people are like, it's not the best. It's my least favorite, but it is. All 3 of these are just masterpieces, and I think they're due for a rewatch. Next is 12 Angry Men. Of every movie in this collection, besides Blue Velvet, I've seen this movie the most. I watched this freshman year, then I watched it in U.S. government, and then I watched it a couple more times after that. It's just one of the most entertaining movies. It's 90 minutes, but honestly, it feels like 40, which is insane. I've not seen this yet. I've not seen it yet. My dad just got it for me. Polanski. So, Polanski. I can't say anything more about that. I think when I eventually delve into Bergman's filmography more, I've seen about 7, 8 of his movies. I'm struggling to find one that might be better than this. B.B. Anderson is just one of the best to ever do it. The first David Lynch... I have every David Lynch on Criterion. Eraserhead is one of the... I rewatched this movie at the first time I watched it, freshman year. I watched a lot of weird stuff my freshman year. I don't know. I was just more getting into movies. And I borrowed a friend's HBO Max account. And I was like, I'm just going to watch as much as possible. And I found this. Also, go to your local library, because that's where I watched most of my stuff. But I rewatched this at midnight, like my junior year, and that was the best possible experience in my life. To watch that movie, anyway. Then Mulholland Drive. I've not seen that. This is my maybe first David Lynch movie I ever saw. No, Eraserhead was my first. And this was my second. I watched it the same summer. I've not seen it since, but it is so good. All right. Now, I will try not to gush about Michel Haneke for too long, because he is my favorite director. Lynch Lanthimos and Greta Gerwig are some of my favorite directors. Greta Gerwig stands out like a sore thumb in that. Stands out, not like a sore thumb, but stands out in that category. But Lady Bird is my second favorite movie ever. But I need to rewatch this, honestly, because it's like, it's not my favorites of his, but also it was just such a powerful, like, disheartening experience. Dr. Strangelove. This is my favorite Kubrick, and anyone who disagrees is objectively wrong. That is a joke. Kubrick is one of those directors, like, okay, if you have anything, I haven't seen his first. The name escapes me right now. The name escapes me of his Fear and Desire. I think if Fear and Desire is your favorite, that's an interesting choice. But Kubrick is one of the most versatile directors in the world. I watched all three of these on January 1st of 2024, back to back, and they are just the most wonderful movies I've ever seen. The Before trilogy. Going on to another Hanukkah, The Piano Teacher. I have put 3 people onto watching this movie, and I don't know if I should be happy about that or absolutely terrified. This is not his best movie. I'm so sorry. To David Lynch fans, this is not his best movie. This is nowhere near his best movie. It's great, but it is so cut down. It is cut down to shit. Which, honestly, is like, if you're going to make it as long as possible, especially seeing what the return was, go ahead and make it as convoluted as long as possible. We're going to watch it. Virgin Suicides. Recently I did a Sofia Coppola binge, and that was very, very fun. This and Priscilla. Priscilla and Somewhere are some of her best. This is her best, though. Somewhere might be her best. I don't know. Funny Games. I'm American, so I prefer the American remake. I have no shame in that. I wrote an essay about the US release because I couldn't write an essay about anything not in the English language. It has been in my top 4 favorite movies for a couple years now. This movie is one of the most just well-written, weirdly disturbing, sexy films ever. This is one of my favorite musicals. I'm trying to wrap it up as fast as possible. I still have 12 more to go. John Cameron Mitchell is just... You have Hedwig in The Angry Engine here. Add Short Bus, for the love of God. Then on to another LGBTQ little movie, Paris is Burning. This is one of the... I did so much research. More extended research after that was done. This was the first... I've been on Letterboxd for a couple years now. This is the first movie that I really, really went into reviewing. So... And I have not rewatched it since. I probably shouldn't. The Elephant Man. Not my favorite. I need to rewatch it, though. It's so... fucking sad. I owe a lot to Parasite, because this is the first really foreign language movie I ever watched, and I haven't seen it since 2020. So I don't have much to say about that. Crash. I watched this with my mom in the room, actually, because she wouldn't leave, and I borrowed a copy. This is my own copy. I borrowed another copy from a friend. And every time she looked up, there just happened to be one of the most graphic, sexy, simulated sex scenes you'll ever see in your life. Now, I was smart and didn't watch this in the room with my mom. I like bringing this movie up to people, just hey, this is a real movie, by the way. I'm not joking when I talk about this movie. this is one of the most underrated David Lynch movies ever made. I think if I rewatch this would honestly be my favorite. It's in my top 5 right now, probably of favorite David Lynch movies. But it is just... The first time I watched it, I was very confused, rightfully so. Arsenic and Old Lace. I have fun movies in here too. It's not just comprised of Solo or anything. But Cary Grant, this is the first thing I ever saw Cary Grant in, and he is fucking hilarious in it. Daisies. I need to rewatch this. Saw this my junior year after I went to a Czech and Slovak museum in Iowa City. And there was a little presentation about the Czech New Wave. And I saw this, and it looked the most intriguing, so I watched it and have not seen it since, but I need to rewatch it. I bought it just to rewatch it. Speaking of buying to just rewatch, I've seen it once before at like 1 a.m. and it was the most weirdest experience I've ever had. I could comprehend like 30% of what was happening, but I was absolutely horrified the entire time. I tried rewatching it again, got an hour in, loved it, and then fell asleep after hours. Departed is probably my favorite Scorsese, but this is one of his best. Trainspotting. I bought the Blu-ray because I don't like how the 4K looks. Also, I don't have a 4K player, but I have 4K disc anyway, but I got this just Blu-ray. This is one of my favorite movies I watched last year. Seriously, this movie flew by. It's 2.5 hours. I look at the clock, and it's like, oh, we're an hour, and no, we're nearly 2 hours in. I was like, holy crap, I'm gaining so much from this experience. 3 more to go. Well, technically 6 more to go. The Greg Araki's Teenage Apocalypse trilogy. I've only seen Totally Fucked Up and The Doom Generation. Totally Fucked Up is good, but Doom Generation was just such a fun experience. But I've heard Nowhere is a very interesting movie. This is one of my favorite movies ever. I'm ashamed to call this one of my favorite movies. I've seen it twice, and I never want anybody to watch this movie, ever. I saw a guy on YouTube. It's like, oh, I bought this movie, but I watched it, and I feel disgusted watching about it, so I'm probably going to get rid of it. I feel you, but also, this movie is so well written. And finally, Paper Moon. The complete opposite of Happiness in terms of how it makes you feel. Yeah, that's it. If you sat here for 18 minutes watching this, thanks.